So, today, we're going to talk about a really fundamental shift in education. It's this move away from a curriculum that's all about memorizing facts to one that's actually designed for deep, lasting understanding. It's called concept based curriculum and instruction, and honestly, it's all about building thinking classrooms.
Okay, so to get into this, let's start with a problem that I think every single one of us can relate to, whether you're a student, a teacher, or a parent. It's a frustration that really gets to the heart of why we need a completely new approach to teaching and learning.
I mean, really think about it. You spend hours studying, you're memorizing dates, formulas, definitions, all for it to just vanish a week later. Is that really what learning is supposed to be? Here's the thing, this isn't usually a failure of the student. More often than not, it's a failure of the curriculum's design. And the answer often lies in what we can call the flat world of learning. This is your classic two-dimensional curriculum. It really only operates on two levels. You've got your topics, the American Revolution, the life cycle of a butterfly, and then you have the skills you need to study them. It's all about coverage, just making sure students know a whole bunch of facts. But it stops right there, and that leaves the learning feeling flat and disconnected. So, if the problem is this flat two-dimensional model, what's the solution? Well, it's pretty intuitive. You add a third dimension. And this is exactly where the concept-based model comes in, creating a framework for deeper, more meaningful learning that actually sticks around. Now, this is where you can really see the difference. Look at the left, in that top diagram. That's the flat, 2D world of just facts and skills. But on the right, the 3D model adds this absolutely crucial layer: concepts. These are the big, transferable ideas. This new model doesn't just ask students to know facts, it asks them to use those facts to understand powerful concepts and form these big picture generalizations that they can apply across different subjects and even situations in their own lives. Okay, so to really get how this works, we need kind of look under the hood at the architecture of thinking itself. This model makes a really smart distinction between the structure of knowledge, that's the what we learn, and the structure of process, the how we learn. And this diagram just illustrates those two pathways perfectly. On the left, you've got the structure of knowledge. See how it builds up from specific topics and facts, then organizes them through concepts, and finally gets to these powerful principles and theories? And then on the right, the structure of process shows a really similar path for skills. You start with these individual little skills, you combine them into strategies, and then you form these broader principles about how to do things well. So, what exactly is a concept in this model? It's really important to know it's not just a topic. A concept is a big idea. It's abstract, it's timeless, and it's universal. Think of words like change, interdependence, or scarcity. These ideas aren't locked into one specific time period or subject. They help us organize and make sense of facts no matter where we find them. And here's where the magic happens. When we connect two or more of these big concepts, we form what's called a generalization, or a principle. This is the end goal, right here. A generalization is a statement of deep, enduring understanding. It's an idea that a student can transfer from a history lesson to a science experiment and even to their own life. Let's make this super concrete with an example. In math, instead of just having kids memorize formulas for motion, a concept-based approach has them explore the topic through concepts like velocity, slope, and time. And doing that allows them to grasp a much, much bigger principle, that the slope of a graph always represents the rate of change. Now that is a truly powerful and transferable idea. And the same logic works perfectly for process-driven subjects too. In English, a student might learn the specific skill of identifying text features, things like headings or captions. But the real conceptual goal is for them to understand the broader principle, that effective readers use a text's features strategically to unlock its meaning. The skill is just a tool that serves the deeper understanding. So this all sounds great in theory, right? But how does a teacher actually sit down and design a lesson this way? Well, they use this beautifully simple framework to separate out the different layers of learning. It's called the KUD framework: what we want students to know, what we want them to understand, and what we want them to be able to do. Know is all the factual stuff: the dates, the names, the vocabulary. Do is about the skills: analyzing, creating, comparing. But the absolute heart of this model, the crucial part, is understand. This is where those conceptual generalizations live. So for example, a student might know the stages of a butterfly's life, but they understand that life cycles ensure the continuation of a species. See the difference? So what does this actually look like in a real classroom? Let's compare two different ways of teaching the exact same history topic. You'll see the fundamental difference this framework makes. Okay, so on the left, we've got a traditional topic-based unit on the American colonies. The focus is just on knowing the characteristics of the colonies. And the final project? Design a game about, well, the facts of the colonies. But now look to the right. The concept-based unit uses the exact same facts, but the goal is totally different. Instead of just listing facts, the assessment asks students to form a generalization, like explaining how environment and culture influence colonization. It's a whole other level of thinking. And this one sentence captures the entire philosophical shift. We are moving away from a mindset of content coverage, just a checklist of facts you have to get through, to one of uncovering genuine transferable insight. It's about teaching students how to think, not just what to know. Now look, becoming a concept-based teacher doesn't happen overnight. Not at all. It's a journey. This rubric kind of shows that developmental path. From a novice teacher who is just starting to see that third dimension, to an emerging one who starts to integrate it, all the way to a master teacher who just instinctively designs lessons for that synergy between facts, skills, and concepts. And this really gets to the core of it all. This isn't just about learning a new set of strategies. It's about a new identity for the teacher. They become a facilitator of thinking. They're guiding students as they take on more responsibility for building their own conceptual frameworks and making their own powerful connections. This quote from the creators of this model just perfectly encapsulates the urgency and the importance of this whole shift. In a world that demands complex problem-solving and adaptable thinking, an education system that's focused purely on memorizing yesterday's facts, well, it's just not enough anymore. The paradigm has to change. So that leaves us with a final thought to really chew on. This isn't just about what happens inside a school. It's about how all of us value and define what learning even is. How can we, in our own roles, help champion this move away from just surface-level coverage and toward uncovering deep, lasting understanding? For anyone who wants to explore these ideas more, the work of incredible educators like Lynn Erickson, Lois Lanning, and Grant Wiggins has been absolutely foundational. Here are some of the key sources that informed this explainer.
Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.